Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Fiscal Philosophy YouTube channel. I'd like to talk a little bit about Alphabet stock, Google, the googly moogly, as it were. As you know, if you've been following me, I told you I thought this was probably the best deal in the Mag 7 for quite a long time when the share price was below 200. At this point in time, we seem to be achieving new all-time highs, yet it's still probably one of the better deals amongst Magnificent Seven stocks. However, it is not as cheap as it was, and I do think we've possibly exited screaming buy territory. However, at this point, I'm not selling because momentum seems like it could carry us a bit more, but I'm probably not adding here either. Part of the magic with Google is their ability to maintain double-digit revenue growth in their overall business while not losing ground in their moat in most of their segments. Like you look at search, people will bloviate about ChatGPT destroying Google search, yet in the AI and LLM realm, Google actually has some of the best products and some of the best R&D on the planet. So you have that, you have their other bets, which could become something. You have Waymo, which is one of the leaders in driverless technology. You have YouTube, which is the second largest search engine to Google's search itself, and dominates eyeballs more than any other streaming platform. Google is just a tremendous, tremendous company. Google was also recently saved from having to divest from Google Chrome and sell that asset off. Chrome is one of the core Google products. It's their browser. I know most people in my circle use Chrome by default, whether it's for work or for personal use. It is just the preferred browser for most people at this point in time. If Google had to get rid of Chrome, I think the market would have reacted very differently. But on the news that they didn't, the stock pumped like 7 or 8%. And I'm really, really happy they get to keep Chrome because Google has this wonderful flywheel with all of their different services and all the data that they have access to. And if they were to lose one of the core components to that, I think it would potentially be less optimal for the company going forward. Also, as a side note, I do think it's more or less a good thing if a company innovates and develops good products and services, that they get to continue to be rewarded for taking that chance and putting in that work to develop that product and invest in it. Now, they also, in addition to being the most profitable company, they do pay out a very small dividend and do share repurchases. Now, at the recent lower prices that we had, I hope that we find out that they really ramped up the share buyback. But even still, I think any buybacks that they have done in 2025 so far have probably been accretive to shareholder value. And I'm glad that they put more into the buyback part of the yield than they do into dividends at this point in time. However, if the valuation continues to go up and we get a lot of multiple expansion, I might prefer them to slow down the buyback a little bit and maybe consider adding more to the dividend at that point. But if I had to predict, I would say buybacks will probably be at least a small part of the story for the foreseeable future. If anything, Apple has taught us what massively profitable companies can do by just consistently doing buybacks. They've managed to keep their valuation pretty high and get good returns to shareholders over the years. Since Google is a very high quality business, I do think it could be worth, even at current valuations, a bit more, maybe 240, 250, which I think would bring us to probably a 26 or 27 trailing price to earnings, which I think Google commands some kind of a premium. I think that's fair to say. But even if the valuation got kind of stretched to 70 to 80, I might not be in a super big hurry to sell out. Simply put, I think that unless the valuation became extreme to the high side, that Google still has enough cards potentially close to their vest where they could surprise us to the upside in the future enough to where, hey, holding it if it's 10, 15, 20% overvalued might not be the worst thing in the world necessarily. Therefore, I continue to hold Google and plan to going forward for the foreseeable future. Feel free to comment below with your thoughts on Google, do all the algo stuff, subscribe, like the video, and all of that. Be sure to consider joining the Discord, linked in the description. It is free. And also catch me every Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern, Cashflow Kings Live, and follow me on X at Mr. Macho Mog. Take it easy, everyone. Have a wonderful day.